Welcome to the Morning Walk with Murty Digital Stroll.
Glad to be here.
Imagine handing over $32,000, right?
Yeah.
And 2 entire years of your life just pouring it into an educational system.
Which is a massive commitment.
Exactly. You follow all the rules, you put in the grueling work, and you're anticipating this very specific promised outcome. And then literally right at the finish line, that outcome just vanishes. Poof, gone.
Just completely wiped out.
And the reason? A bureaucratic glitch. I am the architect of Antariami, acting as your strategic auditor today.
And I am the mentor of the Antariami VA Academy, joining as your wisdom seeker for this session.
Before we extract today's legacy code, I just want to weave in a quiet thank you to the TOI World Desk at timesofindia.com. Their reporting on this issue acted as this really incredible fellow traveler's spark that set this whole stroll in motion for us.
Yeah, we really appreciate that spark. It provided a vital lens for the terrain we're about to navigate today.
Right. And we should frame our mission for this Gurukul session for you, the listener. We aren't here to just, read a news summary.
No, definitely not.
We are looking through the digital prism to extract the legacy code of Project Antariami regarding honestly, a catastrophic systemic failure in international education.
A total failure.
We're auditing what happens when the shiny, high-stakes promise of a global education collides head-on with these rigid, highly confusing migration policies.
Well, I think we have to audit the initial contract first. We really need to look at the promise that was made to these students before the system completely broke down.
Yeah, the baseline expectation.
Exactly. Because we have to understand the human cost when these massive institutional structures fail the very people they're supposed to serve.
So let's look at the reality on the ground right now. Currently, there are these desperate protests happening in front of colleges in Calgary, Canada.
Oh.
Yeah, specifically institutions like Portage College and the Canadian Institute of Osteopathic Therapy. You have thousands of students, predominantly Indian students actually, who have just completed a 2-year business management diploma program.
We really need to pause and quantify the weight of that investment for a second.
Please do, because it's staggering.
We are talking about $32,000 in tuition alone.
Just tuition.
Right. That does not even begin to factor in 2 years of living expenses in a major Canadian city. I mean, housing, groceries, transportation, winter gear, the true cost is astronomically higher.
Right, so think of that $32,000 as an upfront, non-refundable payment for a massive migration software upgrade.
That's a good way to look at it.
Like, these students paid for the premium package. They downloaded the files over 2 grueling years. The installation bar is sitting at 99%. And right as it's about to click over to 100%, the system crashes.
A total fatal error.
Exactly. Fatal error. They're completely locked out of the very system they just paid to enter.
The psychological weight of that crash, it's devastating. Because, education isn't actually software.
No, it's not.
We are talking about human beings. In our framework, we frequently discuss the concept of Gurukul 2.0.
Right, the modernized system.
Yeah, and the traditional Gurukul system is entirely predicated on a sacred, unbreakable trust between the institution and the learner.
The institution acts as a guardian.
The guardian of the student's future. But what we are witnessing here is that sacred trust being fundamentally shattered.
They aren't being treated as learners in a Gurukul at all.
No, they're being treated as mere economic inputs. The human element is just overwritten by this cold, transactional bureaucracy.
You can really hear the desperation in the voices of the students themselves, too.
It's heartbreaking.
Like Jasminder Kaur, one of the protesters, she noted that her father spent his whole lifetime saving just so she could gain this Canadian experience.
A whole lifetime of savings.
Yeah. Put yourselves in her shoes for a second. Imagine the pressure of knowing your entire family's financial legacy is riding on your ability to complete this program and secure a job.
The pressure is immense. There's another student, Mukul Rana, who described this not as some administrative paperwork issue, but as a betrayal.
Betrayal, wow.
He called it a human crisis leading to severe financial and mental struggles. I mean, when you lose the ability to work after banking your family's entire future on it, the despair is absolute.
It is. But knowing the human cost, I think, makes the mechanics of this failure even more baffling. We need to pivot our audit to the actual system discrepancy.
The technical breakdown.
Right. What exactly caused this crash?
Well, to understand the crash, we have to understand what the students were actually aiming for in the first place. They were working toward the post-graduation work permit, or PGWP.
Let's define the PGWP real quick so we are all on the same page.
Go for it.
It is an open, non-renewable work permit issued by the Canadian government. It's meant for eligible international students who graduate from qualifying programs at designated learning institutions.
Which is a very specific designation.
Right. And the reason it is considered like the holy grail of international study in Canada is because it offers a direct, highly coveted pathway to permanent residency.
Exactly. It's the bridge between being a temporary student and becoming a permanent part of the Canadian economy.
So it's not just a study abroad program for fun.
No, most of these students aren't just going to Canada for a certificate to hang on their wall back home. They are going specifically for the PGWP.
Okay, so where does it fall apart?
Here is the core bureaucratic conflict. The students claim that the immigration rules were retroactively changed on them.
Retroactively.
Yeah. They're saying the government suddenly made non-credit programs ineligible for the PGWP, but they did this after the students had already enrolled, paid, completed their studies, and applied.
Okay, pause. I need an explanation here because the math isn't mathing for me.
Okay, sure.
What exactly is a non-credit program? I mean, if I am paying $32,000 for a business management diploma, how is it not giving me credits? Why would anyone enroll in that?
That is the crucial mechanism of this whole breakdown. In the Canadian education system, colleges often run parallel streams of education.
Parallel streams.
Yeah, you have standard academic programs that grant formal credits toward a degree, and then you have continuing education or vocational tracks that are classified as non-credit.
But they look the same.
The curriculum might look identical. The piece of paper you get at the end might say diploma in big letters. But legally, in the eyes of Canadian immigration law, those non-credit hours don't carry the same weight for PGWP eligibility.
Wow. So a student sees a brochure for a business management diploma. They pay the exact same premium tuition, but legally they are sitting in a completely different classification without even realizing it.
That is the allegation, yes. The students are arguing that the specific classification rules were shifted under their feet.
And what does the government say?
Meanwhile, the IRCC, that's Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, they are insisting that there's been no rule change whatsoever.
None.
They maintain the eligibility code has remained exactly the same the entire time.
Hold on. If the IRCC is swearing up and down that the rules never changed, how do we explain the massive anomaly in the data?
The approvals, you mean?
Yeah. Some students from the exact same institution taking the exact same program actually receive their work permits.
The approvals are the glaring inconsistency here.
Right. If the rules of immigration truly didn't change, why did some data packets, like students from the same college, successfully pass through the firewall, while identical applications were completely blocked and flagged as invalid?
It makes no sense.
It's like going to the DMV, handing over the exact same paperwork as the guy in front of you, and the clerk just flips a coin to decide if you get a driver's license.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
No, you really can't.
This points to a deeply flawed algorithmic process or a massive administrative inconsistency on the government's end.
And the scale of this administrative inconsistency is staggering. There is a Calgary immigration lawyer named Laura Ann Goulding who is currently dealing with 200 affected students from this specific situation in her office alone.
200 students in one office.
Just her office.
That is over $6 million in tuition alone, just sitting in limbo in one single lawyer's waiting room.
It breeds absolute paranoia. I mean, think about it from the learner's perspective.
Must be terrifying.
When the rules of a highly consequential system appear to be totally arbitrary rather than merit-based or logical, it destroys the foundational logic required to navigate global education.
You literally can't plan.
How can you confidently plan your future or invest your family's life savings if the outcome depends on which immigration officer happens to review your file on a Tuesday morning?
You can't.
Yeah.
You just can't. And with the government denying responsibility and the system acting completely arbitrarily, we have to follow the trail to see where the accountability actually lies.
And where does it lie?
Right now, we are staring into a massive accountability void.
And in that void, silence speaks volumes. The most deafening silence right now is actually coming from the college administrations themselves.
Of course it is.
As the responsibility for this disaster naturally shifts toward them, because remember, they are the ones who sold these programs they were refusing to comment.
This is going dark.
They have completely closed their doors to the media and to the protesting students.
Which naturally forces the public to process this glitch in the only place left, which is the social media echo chamber.
Right, the internet takes over.
As your strategic auditor, I mapped out how the public network is routing this information. And It is incredibly polarized. Just as a note, we are strictly observing this data. We aren't endorsing either side. We're just reading the network traffic to understand the societal impact.
So what are the primary arguments forming in that network?
First, there's a demographic observation that went viral online. Users pointed out that the protesters in these videos were predominantly Punjabi students, rather than a broad, diverse mix of international students from all over the globe.
Which highlights a very specific recruitment pipeline.
Exactly.
It suggests that certain educational agencies might be heavily targeting specific regions in India with these exact program packages.
Precisely. Now, looking at the actual arguments, you basically have two opposing nodes of thought. On one side, you have users vehemently defending the government.
Okay. What is their core argument?
Their argument is rooted in the current economic climate in Canada. They point to the severe housing crisis and the strain on public infrastructure.
Which are real issues.
They are. And from their perspective, a 2-year diploma was never supposed to be an automatic guarantee for a work permit or permanent residency.
Right.
They argue that a student visa is exactly that, a temporary visa to study. And once the study is done, the implicit contract is over, and students should simply pack up and leave.
So they see it as overstepping.
Yeah, they view the expectation of a guaranteed migration pathway as an overreach, regardless of what the students felt was implied by their recruiters.
That perspective views the international student program strictly through the lens of temporary educational exchange, completely stripping away the immigration aspirations that actually drive the market.
Right, but then the flip side of the network traffic is entirely focused on the colleges.
The other node.
Yes. These users are highlighting what they call blatant systemic fraud. They are accusing these institutions of acting in total bad faith.
By doing what, exactly?
By taking the $32,000 while knowing all along that the promised PGWP would not actually materialize at the end of this specific non-credit course.
So they view the colleges as predators exploiting a legal loophole.
Let me bring in a terms of service analogy here. Consider if these colleges functioned as bad actors in the educational marketplace.
Okay, I'm tracking.
Did they intentionally bury the lack of PGWP eligibility deep in the fine print of their terms of service just to maximize their revenue?
That's a very real possibility.
Right. Did they rely on the fact that an eager 18-year-old student in Punjab, heavily influenced by local recruitment agents, might not parse the nuanced legal difference between a credit and non-credit program under Canadian immigration law?
Which creates a situation where the learner is caught in this toxic triangle of blame.
A triangle. Walk me through that.
Well, at one point you have silent, profit-driven institutions that refuse to take accountability for the outcomes of the programs they sell.
Point one.
At the second point, you have defensive government bureaucracies that claim the system is perfect even when identical cases get wildly different results.
Point two.
And at the third point, you have a divided, often hostile public on social media shouting into the void, debating the very presence of these students.
Wait, a triangle implies all three sides are equal. But aren't the colleges the ones sitting at the very top of that pyramid? I mean, they're the ones who actually collected the $32,000 per student.
You could definitely argue they are the apex of the problem. They hold the capital and they hold the power of admission. But the government holds the regulatory power to shut that loophole down, and the public holds the social power that influences policy. So the triangle remains, and the student is trapped right in the center.
The students are the sole bearers of the consequence.
That's exactly it.
Think about it. The college still has their money. The government still has its borders. The public still has its opinions. But the student has lost their savings, their time, and their promised future.
That maps the architecture of the failure perfectly. The system functions for everyone except the user it was supposedly built for.
Wow. As we bring this digital stroll to a close, we need to definitively state what legacy code you should take away from this extraction.
The core takeaway from this Gurukul session is the immense, almost paralyzing vulnerability of international students navigating global education pathways.
It's terrifyingly fragile.
It is. When educational institutions lack transparency regarding what they are actually selling, and governments lack consistent, logical execution of their own rules, the system doesn't just produce an administrative error.
No, it's way bigger than that.
It produces a systemic failure that destroys real human lives and vaporizes generational savings.
It is a stark reminder that the digital migration pathways we build on paper, the policies and the classifications, they have profound flesh and blood consequences when they fail.
The impact extends far beyond a single rejected application. It ripples through families and communities across the globe.
We want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over as you continue your day. Something to run through your own internal processor, building on everything we just discussed.
Let's hear it.
If a designated learning institution can legally sell a $32,000 program and bear absolutely zero accountability for its students' immigration outcomes, or their ability to actually use that diploma in the country they studied in.
Who is the product?
Exactly. Who is the actual product in this system? Is it the education being sold, or is it the student themselves?